Hello, welcome to another episode of Angela Shows You. Today we are going to work on a sausage egg breakfast bake. I try not to say that too fast because the words are very easy to get jumbled up. So this is my goal is to make this egg bake so that I have something that I can grab real quickly for a breakfast. I'll probably have a piece today, but then my goal is to have something so that I can have a quick item in my refrigerator that I can just grab and toss into the microwave for a few seconds and warm it up a little bit, so it's an easy grab and go. If you commute to work, I have made these so many times in the past. If you commute to work, this is a really great thing. I've got a pie pan set up, but I've also made it just in a square casserole dish before. I've also, if you are cooking for multiple people who are going to eat, you could increase everything that I'm about to show you as well, and you could make it in like a 13 by 9 inch pan as well. And then, it's really easy to just cut up. You can toss it into a Tupperware and you have something that is easy and portable to take to work with you, and then just heat it up in the microwave when you're ready to have your breakfast, which is what I used to do. I work full-time from home now, but when I worked in my office, I usually my hours were 7 to 3, and I just wasn't hungry for breakfast when I was at home. So I would always take something that I would either just refrigerate, like yogurt or something, or I would do up these eggs, and then when I was hungry, usually about 8:30 or 9 o'clock, I would just pop over and heat it up in the microwave real quick and then eat. I suppose that also, though, the flexibility of your job would have a big impact on whether or not you could do this. I have a desk job, so it's very easy for me to just get up and get something to eat and then sit back down and get back to work when it's convenient for me. But it is something too that, if you have a break time, you only need 30 seconds to a minute to reheat something like eggs. So they are something that you can really reheat pretty quickly, maybe closer to a minute, but still, even if you only have a 15-minute break that you're going to eat this, you still have plenty of time. Take a minute, heat it up, and then you still have plenty of time left over. So anyway, what I have here in this dish, I already cracked 8 eggs, and then I added about a quarter cup of water. You could use milk as well, but I used water, and then I just gave everything a stir. So basically what I have here is a big tub of scrambled eggs, and I already went ahead and I cooked the sausage that I'm going to use. This is just plain Italian sausage. You could use like a Jimmy Dean breakfast sausage. They've got it in the spicy and the mild or sweet. So really anything that you like. You could also even really use bacon if you wanted to, regular bacon or turkey bacon. So this is actually a really, really flexible recipe. I have made this before, both with sausage and with bacon. They're both delicious. I just kind of find that this sausage, it's not real greasy, where bacon, I feel like, especially when you're reheating it, you can kind of get a little bit more of that grease. So what I'm going to do is into the eggs, I'm just going to dump in some of the sausage, and this is 1 pound. I don't know that I'm necessarily going to use the whole pound. I do kind of like to go a little bit by how things look also. You'll notice when you're cooking with me, I don't always necessarily follow a recipe. I tend to go by how things look. Because you want it, and the reason why I hesitate here also to give a recipe is if you are going to increase this, if you're going to make a bigger thing, you know, maybe you're going to do 10 eggs or you're going to do a whole dozen eggs and cook it in a 13 by 9 inch pan, you might want that whole pound of sausage. Or, you know, maybe you don't like a meat or you don't want as much. So, you know, I mean, really, so you kind of want to go by how things look. So this is probably about 2/3 of that sausage. So I feel like this is a pretty good ratio of egg to sausage. And then I'm also going to use just a couple dashes of this sweet and hot pepper. I do have bell peppers that I cut up as well. Again, I'm just going by how it looks. And then I also have this 3 onion. So I'm gonna just put some of that in. So now I've got a bunch of seasonings in here as well. Oh, it smells so good already. And then if you're one for pepper, you could also do some black pepper. I'm gonna do just a few twists of the sea salt there. Okay, so I also I went ahead already and I diced up some bell peppers. This is actually it's 2 peppers. It's a big one and a littler one. So again, I'm just gonna go by how I think it looks. I'm gonna move this down so that you can see a little bit better what I'm doing here. And I also have some tomatoes as well, some fresh tomatoes. This was also 2 tomatoes, and as you saw, this is a 1 cup container, and the tomatoes was a little heaping, so this was a little bit more than 1 cup of tomatoes. Okay, so this is what we've got now. So we've got some sausage in here, we've got our eggs, we have bell peppers, and we have tomatoes, and this is how things are looking. I personally feel like this is probably good. I think I've got a decent enough ratio of vegetables to egg without it being like really overpowering, I guess is the word. So I think I'm going to leave this the way it is. So now I've got peppers and I have a little bit of tomato. There's not that much left in there. I dumped the rest of it in there. I was like, you know what? There's not really enough left in there to do a whole lot more with. So now I have a deep dish pie pan here, and I already went ahead and I gave it a little spritz with some Pam. So the pie pan is all ready to go. Now I will say that, you know, as far as the vegetables that you like, you know, this recipe, this is so flexible. If you like mushrooms, go ahead and add mushrooms to this. If you like broccoli, go ahead and add broccoli. I personally don't care for mushrooms or broccoli. Peppers are my favorite vegetable. And then I also like fresh tomatoes. So that's why I tend, when I make this, to use peppers and tomatoes. Every once in a while, I add some zucchini to this as well, but I'm not going to do that today. But so now that I have it in the pan, the only other thing that I want to do is I do have some cheese. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out my cheese shredder, and I'm just going to shred a little bit of cheese on over the top of it. Now you could definitely you could mix the cheese right in if you want. I've just found that the times that I've made this dish, I have found that when I put the cheese in here and I dump it from the mixing dish into the baking dish, the cheese doesn't always seem to want to come out of the mixing bowl. I don't know why, but the cheese seems to stick to the side. So I found that it's just easier to just go ahead and shred the cheese on the top. If you want to mix it in, you can. If you want to leave it on the top, you can do that too. Or, you know, you could even do a little bit of both. So I've got a grater here. And I'm just going to go ahead and grate some up without also trying to be careful to not get the plastic wrapper in there. All right, so I did tend to kind of get it all in the middle there. So I'm gonna just, you know, and if you don't like cheese, then go ahead and skip the cheese. Other good cheeses that would taste good in here would be maybe you like Havarti cheese. Havarti cheese is really mild, but has a nice flavor, so that would be good. If you like Swiss cheese, you could put Swiss cheese in here. If you're just a typical American cheese, then go ahead and, you know, you could do up a few slices of American cheese. So there, we've got our dish. So now what I'm going to do is I already have the oven preheated to 375 degrees. So I'm going to stick it in my preheated oven at 375, and I'm going to let this cook for about 40 minutes. And I will take a look at it at the end of 40 minutes and just see if it's done. Usually 40 to 45 minutes is how long this needs to cook. Of course, if you're using a larger dish, if you're using more eggs, so it's thicker, then your cooking time is going to increase. So that's why I say I hesitate to give anything exact, because if you're modifying this at all, if you're you know, your cooking time may vary. If you're doing a smaller one, maybe it's just you, and so you're doing a smaller dish, then maybe you cook it for like 30 to 35 minutes. I will also say that when I've made this in the past, there have been times when I've made this and I've let it just cook, because I intended on taking it to work where I was going to pop it in the microwave, and I knew that the next minute-ish that it was going to be in the microwave, it was going to cook more. So it's okay if you're not going to eat it like right now. If you're going to break this up into portions and take it and reheat it later, if you cook it until it's just cooked, it will finish cooking the rest of the way when you reheat it. But it is egg, so of course you do want to make sure that it's cooked all the way before you eat it. So if that's not something that you feel comfortable with, then go ahead and cook it, you know, all the way now. I would suggest, if you're doing it in something like this with kind of what I'm doing in the, you know, like a dish this size, and this is a deep dish pie pan like I mentioned, I would say 40 to 45 minutes, and I would check it and just see. I always tend to try and check things a little bit earlier and just make sure, because of course you can continue cooking something, but once it's overcooked, you can't take that back. You end up with an overcooked dish. So I like to start checking things a couple minutes before. If I'm using a recipe, I do, you know, I tend to go on the shorter time and start checking. Like I said, you can keep letting things cook, but once a dish is overcooked, then you know, sometimes it's ruined, sometimes it doesn't, you know, it doesn't taste as good. And of course, anything that you have is also subject to burn. And unless you like that, and I know there are people out there who like things with that, with the flavor of burn, I don't. So I tend to start watching things at the lower time of suggestions and then keep letting them cook if I feel like it needs another 2-3 minutes, or, you know, 5 or whatever. So I'm going to put this in my oven at the 375 degrees. I'm going to set a timer for about 40 minutes, and then I'm going to check it and see how it looks. And if it needs to go a few more minutes, then I will leave it. And what I'm going to do is, when it's done, I'm going to end the video now, so when it's done, I'm going to take a photo of it, and the finished product will be the thumbnail for this video. I do hope that you try this, and please give some feedback through the comments down below if you know, have other suggestions, if there's vegetables that you use. You know, and I would love to know what you think of this and what your family thinks of it. And I hope that you give this a thumbs up, and I hope that you will consider subscribing to Angela Shows You, because I have more things that I want to share recipe wise with everybody. So stay tuned for more. Talk to you.